Hey, thanks everybody for being here today. We've got just a quick topic this afternoon that's actually going to lead to some broader discussions about acquisition, moving into new zip codes, taking over new territory. But today I want to talk about what happens when you market in the wrong areas. So much of our time in this industry is spent looking at the rest of the area we could be working. We either buy a territory or we stake our claim and say we're going to do a 50-mile radius or a 30-mile radius or a 3-mile radius from our shop. That's how far I'm going to work. I'm going to own this territory. And we find out when we run the analysis for companies that that's kind of not how it works. It's not even really close to how it works. Guys don't get to really dictate the market as much as they might like, and it's actually a far more efficient to ride out the opportunities in front of you rather than try to bulldog your way into some new markets. But we spend so much time looking at the other side because we always think, as we're looking at these markets, and we're looking at it as our marketing, that the grass is greener on the other side. And that's an old saying we've all heard. But it's really true in this industry. We're always looking at another city, another town, another zip code, another neighborhood, another street that we know if we could just get on and get a little bit of presence, it would change our business. It would grow. I don't know how many calls I get a week from a guy who I've been working with for 2 or 3 years maybe even, who goes, I just drove through this neighborhood and I looked at the houses and we really need to be here. This is where the money's happening. This is where the sales need to happen. This is where I need to go. And the problem is, of course, that takes into absolutely no consideration what the contractor's doing today. It takes into no consideration how green the grass is right under his feet. So many times people are looking over the fence and not at the grass right under their feet to find the opportunity, and they end up missing out on the real opportunity they're already standing on. So today I want to take a look at a company that did just that. They decided they've had a number of years of growth, and they decided the last 2 years to take a chunk of their marketing money that had been going into some of these other zip codes. And they've had some wonderful growth and are continuing to have that growth this year. But they've taken a chunk of that money and they've pushed it into a zip code where they had basically no market share. And I want to show you what happens in that. And we're just going to look at a couple of their zip codes so we can get an idea of the difference and what happens when you focus on an area that you really don't have any market share in. And we're not going to get into the discussion how you turn that around, how you make that change. That's a topic for a different day. I just want to show you what happens when you make an honest effort pushing into a market for 24 months, and you can kind of see the results of pushing into an area that may have a ton of opportunity. The grass may be very green, but you don't have any market share to speak of, and the market's not looking for you. So let's take a look at a company. And like I said, he's had some great growth over the last couple of years. We started talking in 2012, and we have been working with them ever since, and they have had, aside from a dip in 2015 when they had some ownership changes and things of that nature, basically nothing but growth. 2018, they capped the year at about $2.75 million in sales, and this year, 2019, the graph you're looking at there, those numbers are actually only through July, so they're on pace to eclipse $3 million in sales this year. So a fantastic growth curve for this company. Everything looks to be going right. That's why we want to take a look at it a little bit closer, because as we know, marketing dollars are going out. A lot of people right now would stop the analysis. They would say, look, the revenue's looking really good, sales are really good. And when sales are good, we tend not to analyze the little problems. We tend not to take that deep look because everything seems fine. The old saying, sales cure all. Well, if we take a look a little bit deeper, we'll see that actually in a lot of their areas, that's exactly what we're seeing. If we take a look in their top zip code, we'll see that they're sitting in a zip code that's got $1.1 million in opportunity. And there's a lot of numbers on this page. I'm going to highlight the ones we want to look at. We do a real deep analysis on every zip code, and all of this has a lot of meaning, but we're going to focus on just a couple of things today. And one of them being the value of that zip code. So this is a $1.1 million opportunity for them. Right now they're doing $593,000 in sales there. So they can double and more than double their sales in this zip code with little to no problem. It's easy to take a zip code that's 400,000 to 500,000. Much easier than it is to take a zip code that's 50,000 to 150,000. So taking this zip code and adding another $100,000 or $2,000, $100,000 or $200,000 to it shouldn't be a huge problem. And they've done it already, as you can see. In the past, 2015, 2016, they were doing 539,000 there. Right now, the beauty is their cost to acquire a new customer has dropped significantly. Last year it was $158. This year, $96. So $96 is what we're looking at for their total cost to acquire a new customer. They're spending just $2.23 per prospect. Now, they were spending more last year, but they didn't have nearly the dominant market share they do now. This year, like I said, they'll probably knock on the door of $1 million in sales in the zip code. We're looking at just 7 months. Last year, they only did $718,000 total in this zip code. In their next best zip code, we see kind of the same story. It's got $2 million in potential. They've been in about 3% of the houses. And this year, right now, they've already done just shy of $500,000 in this zip code. They're bringing in new customers at an average cost of $143. So relatively inexpensively. It's not costing them a lot to acquire a new customer in this area. And the value on those customers is $2,413 over their lifetime. So really inexpensive cost for very valuable customers over their lifetime. They're only spending about $1.90 marketing to this zip code. Most successful contractors we see in their best zip codes are spending between $3 and $4 per prospect on that advertising. So he's pretty light on his spend, and he's still getting really good results. And part of the reason why that's a problem is that probably there's more upside opportunity here. He has the capacity to handle more work. And these zip codes have the ability, they definitely have the potential to pump out more sales for him. But instead, he found a zip code he was more interested in, one he wanted to push his dollars into. And that's what we're looking at here. So this zip code, again, it's a real nice opportunity, $1.4 million in potential. But his sales there over the course of the year are just $7,119. Not a lot. And last year, the sales total year were just $36,000. So he's actually behind pace on that. But his spend is significantly up. So take a look up here. Right now, he has spent $10,000 this year, $8,000 last year. So $19,000 over the last 24 months in the zip code, and his sales have gone from $36,000 to $7,000. So not a lot of upside swing. And this holds true when we look at it for contractors all across the country. When you push into a zip code that has a lot of potential, what you tend to forget is that this $1.4 million, $1.5 million worth of opportunity is being done by someone, and you have to displace them. There are not a lot of folks sitting around in their house sweating or freezing, shivering, hoping that you'll come knock on their door. When they have a problem, they call somebody, meaning they already have used some other contractor. And you have to displace that contractor's market share in order to take over that zip code. And that takes time, and it takes money, and it takes effort. And there's a lot of ways to go about that. This is not that call. That's a much longer topic. What I wanted to show you is, and this guy has made a concerted effort to push into this market. $18,000 in spend is not a little bit of money. It's a good amount to spend. He's spending $2 a prospect, which is about $2 shy of where I'd like to see him in a marketplace. But he has put $18,000 in here, and for his efforts, he's gotten an average customer cost him about $1,181. It means over the course of last year, he spent $10,000 to make $7,000. So sales are up. New customer production is up. House file customers are up. Everything in his business is looking great. If he'd have taken this money and applied it to any one of these other zip codes, if we just go back 2-3 slides here, we can see The upside potential in that market is $2 million. He does just $500,000. Had he layered that money on here, he probably would have produced another 4, 5, 7, maybe 10 installs easily. That's without much effort. That's on a bad day. More likely, with the numbers he's putting on in the zip code, that number, that additional 10,000, would have put him on another about 16 installs for him in this area. And remember, these these installs are going on at about $10,000 a pop. So that's another $170,000 in sales if he'd have just put that money into a zip code that had a ton of upside potential instead of looking for where the grass was a lot greener. And that's the problem with putting your money into the wrong areas. You don't get the return that you would have had you focused on the market where you're a known entity, where you have the market presence, and where your chances of closing an opportunity when you get it are significantly higher. So what about your marketing? Where do you stand? Well, the easiest way to find that out is actually to send me an email, pick up the telephone, give me a call, and I would be happy to run this exact report for you. Take a look at where your marketing's going, where you're putting your effort, what zip codes, what areas, what towns matter to your business, where you're most likely to be successful. So pick up the phone, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. I'm Eric Weitrall. Thank you so much for being with me. Have a fantastic day.